Okay, back to where we left off in Pidyon Haben. So the last thing we were learning is that if a Bas Levi, who normally doesn't have to do a Pidyon Haben, so if she became pregnant from a Goy, so then you do have to do a Pidyon Haben. But if it's a Bas Kohen, you don't have to do a Pidyon Haben because she's still a Bas Levi. But if it's a Bas Kohen, had relations with a Goy, and he made her pregnant and she gave birth to her firstborn, then it would need a Pidyon Haben because she became a chalala, so she doesn't have a status of a kohen anymore. We learned also that if a single girl had relations with a guy or whatever and she gave birth to firstborn, that kid would need a Pidyon Haben. That's what we learned yesterday. Okay, now what happens if a woman was in the process of converting to Yiddishkeit? So not a Jewish woman, she was pregnant and she converted while she was pregnant. Then she gives birth to the firstborn. I mean, obviously if she had a baby from before, it's still not a firstborn anymore. But this lady never had a baby. She was pregnant. She became, as a shiksa, she was pregnant. So then she converted while she was pregnant. So the din is, that kid needs a Pidyon Haben. Now, what's the status of that kid? So we learned already in earlier classes that if a pregnant woman converts to Yiddishkeit, the kid does not need to go through a separate conversion. The conversion of the mother helps for the child, but the child has a din of a ger. He's still a din of a convert. He's not a din of a born Jew. He has a din of a converted Jew, which means that if it would be a girl, she couldn't marry a kohen, whatever. But the bottom line is, obviously if it's a boy, you need to do a bris also. But the conversion of the mother helps, but still a Pidyon Haben. Now what happens is she gave birth to a kid, firstborn, and it wasn't Jewish when he was born, and then later became a convert to Yiddishkeit, then he doesn't need a Pidyon Haben. Because when he was born, he wasn't a Jewish kid, he wouldn't need it.
In the first situation, when the mom converted in the middle of pregnancy, the baby is born, he can marry a Kohen, marry the Kohen, the girl.
No, because he has a din of a Geyeris. And the Kohen cannot marry the Geyeris. So that would make basically the only difference. She would have a din of a Geyeris, so Kohen couldn't marry her. But otherwise, the question is she still related to the mother or not? Because now she's a Geyeris, the mother's separate Geyeris, so technically they're not related, biologically they are, halachically they're not. There's a lot of issues with that.
She can't marry a Kohen if the conversion was completed after the birth, not before.
No, I'm saying even if the mother converted while the mother was pregnant.
She's still...
The mother was 5 months pregnant, she converted, that girl is still a convert. But she doesn't have to go through her own conversion. The mother's conversion is valid for her.
So in what situation that girl can marry a Kohen, you said?
I said she can't, not if she's a convert. Now if there's a woman, it's a big machlekes in the Gemara and even in Shulchan Aruch and halacha, but what happens if a woman converted halachically before she got married, and then she had a baby girl? Can that baby girl marry a kohen?
Yes.
Now she's not a convert, that kid. Okay? There is an opinion in the Gemara that they can't. Now, there is an opinion, and in Shulchan Aruch it says, L'chatchila, what happens if both parents are converts? I'm talking about halachic converts, okay? Father and the mother both converted halachically, either after they were married or before they got married, it doesn't matter. And then they have a girl, so the halacha is that she should not marry a kohen. But there's one opinion in the Gemara, in the Mishnah, in Kedushin, that if there's one kid that's not, one parent is a ger or geyeris, they can't marry a kohen. The halacha is not like that. The halacha is they could, but if both parents are gerim, so then it says, l'chatchila, they shouldn't get. What happens if people didn't know it, then they got married? They can stay married. Similar case where you have, I know we're off topic, but it's about kohen. But if a kohen married a woman that he's not allowed to marry. Okay? So they have an obligation to divorce. Let's say Kohen marries a divorcee. So even though they got married, they would need a get, but they're not allowed to stay married because it's still biblically forbidden. If they have a kid, it's not a mamzer because the marriage is valid. Except it's not a kohen anymore, it's what's called a cholol, a desecrated kohen. So the kid wouldn't be a kohen at all. But they would still need a get because the kohen marrying a grusha is not capital punishment. It's only what's called chai v'lavin. It's only a negative commandment. In the Torah, a kohen cannot marry isha grusha v'chalola v'zeina lo yikoch, right? So a kohen is not allowed to marry those women biblically, but it's only allowed. There's no capital punishment. Therefore, unlike Rabbi Akiva, but the halacha is like the Chachamim, that the marriage is valid. That means they would need a get, but they cannot live together. They have to divorce. What happens? It says in Shulchan Aruch like this: a girl whose father is not Jewish, normal Jewish girl whose father is not Jewish. Okay. It says in Shulchan Aruch, Chatchila, she cannot marry a kohen. Because there's a pagam, it's not a blemish. But what happens if she did? She did, the chasana is valid. They don't even have to get divorced. They can stay married. Because it's only it's not halacha, it's preferable. It's the same thing if both parents are converts and the kid got married with the kohen, they don't have to get divorced.
Is
What?
the child kohen?
If what? No, the kid's not a kohen at all. He's called a cholol. And not only that, if they have a daughter, if a kohen married a woman he's not allowed to marry, let's say divorcee, right? And they have a daughter, that daughter is not allowed to marry a kohen.
Do we have any halachot that the original was revisited and they saw there was some machloket in the original, and then therefore they relied on the opposing opinion and they reverted, they changed? No, never. We don't know.
No.
Is there a generational limitation like that? The next daughter has another daughter and she married one?
Then we'll see it's not how long halala goes, but if she would marry a regular Yisrael, their daughter would be allowed to marry a kohen. Okay, okay, if somebody adopts a kid from birth, let's say, but the biological mother was Jewish, so they have to do a Pidyon Haben. Now the question is, who does it? Who is obligated to do a Pidyon Haben? So the question is, if you don't know who the father is, then eventually when the kid becomes an adult, he has to do it himself. He has to do his own Pidyon Haben. We discussed the other day, what happens if kids are born to totally non-religious parents, firstborn kid, normal, everything, and the father never did a Pidyon Haben on the kid. So then the din is, when the kid becomes bar mitzvah, he has to do a Pidyon Haben on himself. Huh? Bais Din can do it, but the technical halacha, the obligations on the kid to do it.
What if the father finds out that they did not do Pidyon Haben?
So he has to do it.
Parents are gone already.
So he has to do it for himself.
Yeah, even.
The father doesn't have to bring the kid, his 40-year-old kid on a tray, no. He doesn't have to do that. He has an obligation himself, even if his parents are not alive. He has to go to the kohen. Obviously, he can't come to the kohen. Normally, you say to the kohen, Ishta Yisraelis, my Yisraelis wife gave birth to a boy, and the Torah, you can't say that my mother, you have to say, I am a Bukhar, I was never redeemed, I need to be redeemed, and he does the Pidyon Haben.
When we say Bais Din, can it be one of Bais Din?
Yeah, it could be enough, but again, sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they'll wait for the kid. If they think the kid will do it on his own, they won't do it, whatever. Okay, okay, next. Okay, here goes into dinim if a Bukhar is sick. I'll give you an example. What happens if a kid was born premature? Let's say after 7 months he was born, he was put into an incubator for 2 months. Now he's 9 months old. So when do you do the Pidyon Haben? Do you do it? So then they say that if the kid was born premature and was an incubator, so then the birth would then be counted 9 months.
From the end of
At the end of the 9 months, meaning after the kid's out of the incubator.
Yes.
Then you count 30 days and you do it then. But what happens if your kid was born to 9 months, but the kid's in an incubator? For whatever medical reason, leave it up to the doctors to figure it out. But the kid is in an incubator for, let's say, a few weeks. Because whatever, something didn't develop yet. So there's a machlekes and halacha. Do you count the 30 days from they were born or from the time they leave the incubator? And that halacha l'maisa, they say that you paskin basically that when he was born, you do it 30, because he was born after 9 months. So therefore, you do it after 9 months.
If the baby is born, the baby boy is born in 7 months premature,
Yeah.
and there is no incubator. There is no incubator. And then, what is the din?
According to the Gemara, again, today, because medicine changed, not halacha changes, the Gemara says that a baby could be born after 7 months or after 9 months. Not in the 8th month. If a baby is born in the 8th month, even in Shabbos, if a baby is born in the 8th month in time of the Gemara, yeah, the kid was muktzah, it's a dead thing, it's not viable at all. Now today, obviously, we know that because of medicine, that halacha changes. Halacha then said, in fact, last week's parsha talked about the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. One opinion, Moshe was born after 7 months. No, 7 months. So it's either 7 months or 9 months. So then, if there was no incubators, then if the kid lived, it would be after he's born, 30 days after he's born, if he would live. Okay, what happens if the kid is born during 30 days and he passes away before 30 days? So then there's no opinion of it. What happens if the kid lived until after 30 days and then he died? The parents still have to do opinion of ben. They still owe the kohen the money because they have the obligation to redeem him. But then you have a big shaila, and this is a very controversial issue b'chlal with a lot of dinim. What happens if a kid was born very sick? Okay, so normally, let's say there's a din that we learned already, why do you do pinyin haben on the 31st day? Because a baby does not have a chazaka, an established life, until after 30 days. So until 30 days, the kohen can't say, give me the money, because how do you know the kid's going to live officially? So you do it on the 31st day. But what happens, Taka, if a kid was sick, very sick, and without, let's say they're on life support or an incubator or whatever, they're in a situation, and then the kid lived after 30 days, the kid lived for more than 30 days, and then, let's say 3 months later, the kid passed away. So then you have big shilas and halacha. Now, if a kid passes away during 30 days, there's no shiva. There's no avelut, there's nothing. If a kid passed away after 30 days, the kid, crib death, whatever, God forbid, whatever, it was after 30 days, so then there's shiva, yard site. Whether you say kaddish in a kid under a year old is questionable, but I'm saying as far as the dinim of avelis is concerned, they have to sit shiva, it's a full din of avelis. So now what happens if a kid was born and without the incubator, not talking about the whatchamacallit, without I'm not talking about the incubator. If the kid was intubated, let's say, and now he's living more than 30 days, but he dies after 2-3 months, does the parents have to sit shiva or not? And there are different opinions. Bottom line is, tell you what the bottom line, what they paskin. If the parents want to sit shiva, they do. If they don't want to, they don't. And then because you can go, there's different opinions both ways. Yeah.
What about a situation where a woman's first pregnancy results in an abortion, and she doesn't know if it's a boy or girl? Does her second pregnancy was...
When was the abortion?
Huh?
What stage was the...
Let's say it was the first, trimester.
Yeah, but before 40 days or after 40 days?
That's it. Tell us each.
Well, we did already. We learned that. If it's before 40 days, then they don't have to... the next kid needs opinion of it. If it's after 40 days, you have to do it without a bracha.
Same is as about miscarriage? Is
Mm-hmm.
miscarriage
Yeah.
or abortion?
Abortion, miscarriage, the same thing. The question is the second kid a b'chad. Is it a firstborn? That's the question. Machat Shin is Ramais Ma'im Chaviv Amayim Kim Shivala Gal Teira